topics. I think I completed what is an exception, right? So what is the definition of exception? And after that, what is an exception handling, right? And what is runtime stack, right? These are the three topics we covered, it seems. Fine, guys. Now we will go with next topics. I'm writing one class, guys. Okay. Class, right? Class default exception, right? Class default exception. So here I'm taking public static void main method. So here string args I'm taking. Okay. From here I'm calling do activity, right? I think that is the method, right? That time we have taken. Fine. Do activity method I'm calling, right? So now I need to write do activity method, right? Public void do activity method. From here I'm calling do more activity. Okay. So now I need to write what do more activity method. Public void do more activity. From here, I'm calling to do some more activity. Okay, calling to some more activity. Now, public void do some more activity. Okay, so here I'm calling system.out.println of, okay, system.out.println of just I'm 10 divided by 0. Clear, everyone? So arithmetic exception we will get. Okay, so already I think we have discussed it, right, while discussing operator topics. Arithmetic operator. Please go and revise. Okay, so that time we clearly discussed, guys. Right? Infinity, right? So lot of things we have discussed over there. Please go and revise that videos. So I think already I uploaded those videos in our YouTube channel. Please go and revise. So now here see public void do some more. See here we have what, guys? Main method. So for every Java program, okay, the execution will start from where? Main method, right? So from the main method, execution will start. Who will call this main method? JVM will call.
JVM.
Okay. So now in the main method, what we are doing, what is the statement? Do activity. We are calling one more do activity method, right? So now do activity method will execute, right? And the do activity method, we are calling one more method called do more activity. Now do more activity method will executing. Now under do more activity, we are calling what? Do some more activity. Okay. So now do some more activity method is started executing. Under do some more activity, we have written what? System.out.println 10 divided by 0. Okay. So 10 divided by 0 means 10 is what, guys? Numeric value, right? Integral values.
Yes, sir.
So integral values, if you are dividing by 0 means what we will get? Infinity, right?
Yes, sir.
Infinity. So there is no value, there is no way to define infinity for integral literals. Remember that time we have discussed. So that's why here we are throwing what, guys? Arithmetic exception. Understand? No. So arithmetic exception we are throwing. So finally, what is the output here after executing this one? Arithmetic exception is throwing. Understand? Arithmetic exception is throwing. No. See here. Okay. No. So where the exception is raising, guys, here? Tell me, in this program, where the exception is raising. So where is the statement which is causing exception, guys, here?
Line number
System dot
17.
Line
yes,
number
sir.
17, right? System.out.println 10 divided by 0, right? So now, so that statement under which method it is available?
Do some more
Do
activity.
more.
Do some more activity, right? Do some more activity. Okay, now see, in Java, please listen carefully, guys. Okay, understand? In Java, the method in which the exception is raised, okay, so that method is responsible to create exception object by including, okay, the following information. Understand? So what is the following information? Okay, so name of the exception, description of the exception, location of the exception. Understand? So by including all these details, one exception object will be created. Who will create? Where the exception is raising. In which method the exception is raising. Okay. So that method is responsible to create exception object having name of the exception, description of the exception, stack trace of the exception. Understand? Having these information, guys. So who is the responsible to create exception object? The method in which the exception is raising. Clear, everyone? So default exception handling in Java. Default exception handling in Java. So we are discussing what, guys? Default exception handling in Java. So yesterday we discussed it, right? Okay. So what is an exception also we discussed. Okay. So once we raise an exception, what we have to do also, I think already we discussed, right? We need to handle the exception. Otherwise, it will become what, guys? Abnormal termination. Okay. Always we have to achieve what, guys? Graceful termination of the program, right? So even when exception is raised, we have to handle the exception. Okay, if you handle the exception, okay, if you handle such a way, then we will get what, guys? Graceful termination of the program. Come on. So now what we have to do? We have to handle the exception. Fine. So now, okay. So we will see, guys, what is default exception handling in Java. We will see. Okay. As part of this topic, okay. So now we have to understand one thing. So what is that one thing here? Okay. In any Java program, okay, in which method the exception is raising. Okay. So that particular method is responsible to create exception object by having what, guys? By having following information. What is the following information? Name of the exception. Name of the exception, right? Next one is what, guys? Description. Description of the exception. Okay. So what is the next one? Location. I mean, location of the exception. Okay, location means in which line number, in which method the exception is raising. That is called what, guys? Stack trace. Stack trace. Understand? So already I think we have discussed it, right? Yesterday class. I mean, not yesterday, the previous class. Runtime stack mechanism. Okay, that is stack trace. Okay. So name of the exception,
Sir.
description of the exception, location of the exception, stack trace of the exception. Okay. See, now in our program, if anywhere an exception raised, the method in which it is raised is responsible to create exception object by including what, guys? The following information. What is the following information? Name of the exception, description of the exception, location of the exception. Location means the stack trace of the exception. Understand? Everyone? Okay?
Yes,
the point, right? So anywhere, so while executing Java program, if exception is raising means, okay, if exception is raising means, so where, okay, in which method the exception is raising, that particular method is responsible to create what, guys? Exception object. Understand? That method is responsible to create what, guys? exception object. Understand? Exception object. You know, right, how to create object. In the same way, that method has to create what, guys? Exception object. Clear, everyone? Okay. So the exception object contains what, guys? Name of the exception, description of the exception, location of the exception. Fine. So after creating this exception object, okay, that particular method will hand over this exception object to whom? JVM. Okay, please listen carefully, point by point. Okay. So now the particular method is responsible to create what, guys? Exception object. Okay. By having what? The following information. So what that exception object should contain? Name of the exception also should contain. Description of the exception also should contain, and location of the exception also it should contain. Right? Once exception object is created, right? That particular method is responsible to hand over this exception object to whom, guys? JVM. Clear?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
Now, what JVM will do, you know, first. So JVM will check, okay, whether the corresponding now exception is raising. Okay. Okay. We will go that point. Now exception is raising. Fine. Something, guys. Some particular method we have, exception is raising. Let's assume in this example only. So now, so here do some more activity method, right? So line number 17, exception is raising, right? So now if exception is raising means what? So exception object, okay? So do some more activity. This method is responsible to create what, guys? Exception object, right? So this exception object will be created by what? Do some more activity method. Now this method has to hand over this exception object to whom? JVM, right? So now if any exception is raising means what will happen? Come on, what will happen? Come on, guys,
The
what will
process will
happen?
terminate, sir.
Yeah, the application will be terminated abnormally, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will end up with what, guys? The full of technical errors, right? So you will not
Yes,
get
sir.
what? The output, right? So in order to achieve graceful termination means what we have to do? What we have to do? Come on. In
We need
order
to keep
get,
that one in try catch.
We have
block.
to handle the exception.
we have to handle the exception, right, Sweta? We have to handle the exception, right? We have to handle that particular exception, right? So handling
Yes.
exception is nothing but we are not repairing the exception. So we are providing alternate way to continue the program, the rest of the program. Understand? We are providing alternate way to continue the rest of the program to achieve what? Graceful termination of the program. So that's what we discussed, right? Previous class, remember,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So now here what? We are getting exception. Exception is raising. Exception object is created. So now we have to handle the exception. So now finally, that once the exception is raised, that okay, in which method the exception is raising, that particular method is responsible to create exception object and okay, and hand over that object to whom? JVM, right? No, no, no. Ball in whom, guys? No, ball in, right? JVM court. Now, so what JVM will do? JVM will check. Okay, so in the particular method where the exception object is created, right? So there JVM will check the particular method. Do we have any exception handling logic or not? Understand? So do we have
Yeah.
any exception handling logic or not? Where, guys? In which method the exception object is created? Understand? Come on, everyone.
Yeah.
So JVM will check
Yes, sir.
what? Whether the corresponding method having any exception handling code or not. Understand? So now, if the corresponding object, okay, let's suppose if the corresponding object does not have, I'm sorry, if the corresponding method does not have exception handling logic. Okay, so that time what will happen, right? So what will happen? Okay, so now JVM will terminate, okay, that particular method. Understand, guys? JVM will check whether the corresponding
Okay.
method having any exception handling code or not. if the method having any exception handling code, then it will be executed. Understand? Come on. Okay, let me repeat one more time.
Yes, sir.
Here what I'm saying, you know. So here do some more activity method we are calling, right? So now
Yeah.
the exception is raising. In which method it is raising? Do some more activity method.
Do some more.
Okay, so there exception is raising. So what I mean to say here, if any method where the exception object is created, first of all JVM will check the corresponding method having any exception handling logic or not. If that corresponding method having any exception handling logic, that logic will be executed. Understand? Now
Yeah,
the
yes, sir.
remaining, the rest of the program will be executed normally. Understand?
Yes.
We will get what? Graceful termination of the program. Now, if the corresponding method does not have any exception handling logic, then what it will do?
Throw
Understand?
any exception.
JVM terminates that method abnormally and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. Understand? Remember that stack trace mechanism. Okay?
Okay.
Clear everyone? So if exception handling is logic is available, then that logic will be executed and rest of the program will be executed normally. And finally, we will achieve what? Graceful termination of the program. Fine. So now, if the corresponding method where the exception object is created, if the corresponding method does not have any exception handling logic, okay, the else what I am discussing. Okay. Corresponding method does not have any exception handling logic. So now what JVM will do? JVM will terminate that particular method abnormally. Understand? JVM will
Yeah.
terminate that particular method execution abnormally and removes that particular method entry in the stack. Remember guys, every method, okay, where it will store, that method entry will be stored in runtime stack.
Stack.
Come on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Discussed,
runtime.
Run stack.
right? Yeah. So that particular entry will be removed by that runtime stack, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Corresponding entry from the stack. Okay. Now JVM will not throw any exception object immediately. After that, what it will check? Okay. Now JVM identifies any caller method. Okay. Any caller method. Do we have any caller method or not? Okay. Now JVM identifies caller method and will check whether the caller method contains handling, exception handling code or not. Understand? If the caller method does not contain exception handling code, then JVM terminates that particular caller method also abnormally and removes corresponding entry from the stack. Yeah. See, in this particular method, exception is raising. Okay. This method is not handling any exception logic. So now JVM will remove what? JVM will execute, JVM will terminate this method execution abnormally and removes this particular method entry from stack. Fine. Now, after that, what will happen? JVM will check. Okay. So any caller method having exception handling code or not. So what is the caller method of this method? Do more activity method. Right? From do more activity method only, right? We are calling this one.
Yes, sir.
So for do some more activity, so what is the caller method? Do more activity. Right? So now JVM will check. Do more activity having any exception handling logic or not. Understand? If the do more activity also does not have any exception handling logic, then JVM will terminate do more activity method execution also abnormally and removes this particular method entry from the stack. Come on. Clear everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now like this, this process will be continued what? Until main method. Understand? This process will be continued until main method. So finally from the main method only, right? The JVM will, start execution, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This process will be continued until main method. Now, if the main method, JVM now will check if the main method having any exception handling logic or not, right? if the main method also does not have any exception handling logic, then what will happen? JVM will terminate this main method execution abnormally and removes this particular, okay, this main method entry from the stack. Understand, guys?
Yeah. Okay.
Corresponding entry from the stack, guys. Okay. So now, finally, what will happen? Then JVM handovers this exception object to what? Default exception handler. Understand?
Okay.
Finally, what will happen? The JVM will hand over this exception object to whom? Default exception handler. So default exception handler is part of JVM, guys. So the default exception handler is part of what? JVM. Okay. Now default exception handler just print exception information, okay, to the console, guys. Okay, so what is the exception information it will print in the console? Understand? So now, okay, so now, see, finally what? This exception object to hand over, we are handovering to whom? Default exception handler. Now, default exception handler, what it will do? It will print this exception information. Okay, after printing this exception information, it will terminate the program abnormally. So what is the exception information it will print? Understand? So like this it will print, guys, in the console. Name of the exception.
Yes.
Okay. Name of the exception, colon. Okay. Description of the exception. Description of the exception. Okay. So finally here,
Okay.
stack trace. Stack trace. Understand? So these are the information who will print, guys. Default exception handler print in the console. Okay, before terminating the program abnormally. Understand?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me execute this program. Don't worry, I will explain you one more time here. See now, I'm saving. Training, exception handling. Get any folder here? No.
No, sir.
Let me create new. Exception handling. No. Here, default. Okay, all are small. Exception. Okay, default exception. File name also default exception. Fine. So now, under C, right? So training exception handling. So now, here what? How can we call instance method directly from static area, guys? Shall we call?
No.
But you have to tell that one. So now compilation successfully, right? So now Java. Okay. What is the class name, guys? Default exception, I think, right? FAULT exception. Default exception. See. See what is the exception information we are getting, guys, in the console? See, exception in thread main, java.lang.arithmetic exception. So this is what, guys? This is
Exception.
what?
Exception.
Name of the exception, right? So what is the name of the exception here? Arithmetic exception.
Arithmetic exception.
Automatic.
Okay. So name of the exception. Here see after colon. Here what? Description of the exception.
Zero.
Okay, divided by 0. This is what, guys? Description of the exception. Understand? So after that, here if you see the location of the
Stack trace.
exception, stack trace. Stack trace means what? So the location from where okay, the exception is raising. Understand? So here, so see, okay, do some more activity at line number 17, right? So that is the line causing an exception or exception, right?
Yes.
Line number 17 is causing exception here, right? See here from here
Yes, sir.
there, from there, do more activity we are calling. Okay. So do more activity method from where we are calling? From do activity method.
Do it.
Activity from where we are calling? Main method.
Main method.
Understand? See now. Okay. I will explain you one more time. See here. So that's what we discussed right here. So name of the exception, description of the exception, stack trace of the exception. Understand? Name of the exception, description of the exception, stack trace of the exception. Who will print, guys, all these things? Who will print?
Default
Exception handler, not JVM. Default exception handler will print all these information into the console before terminating of the program abnormally. Understand?
Yes.
Come on. So now, let me
Yes.
explain you one more time here. Okay. Now see. Okay. See now. Now see. Okay. Now. Yeah. So in any Java program, okay, in any Java program, if the exception is raising, right? So definitely exception where it will be raised somewhere, okay, in one of the method, right? In one of the method we have written in the particular Java class, somewhere of the one of the method, the exception will raise. Am I right or wrong? Okay. So the exception in which method the exception is raising, okay, that particular method is responsible to create what, guys? Exception object. Okay. So exception object contains what, guys? Name of the exception and description of the exception and stack trace of the exception. Understand? So now containing all these details, okay, exception object is created. Who will create this exception object? So let's suppose we are writing one Java program, right? So while executing the Java program, we are getting some exception, right? So exception basically from where it will throw in one of the method, right? No, in any method, if exception is throwing means that particular method is responsible to create what, guys? Exception object having what? The following information. So what is the following information that exception object should contain? Name of the exception, description of the exception,
Description of
and
the exception.
stack trace of the exception. Okay. So now, so with this information, exception object is created by the method from where the exception is raising. Clear, everyone? So after creating this exception object, now that particular method is handovering this exception object to whom, guys? JVM. JVM. I created. So I'm getting some exception here. With that exception information, I'm creating one exception object. Okay, I'm handovering this exception object to you. Please take care. Okay, like that, who will do? That particular method will do. Okay, hand out this exception object to whom? JVM. Fine. So now, what JVM will check? Right. So now JVM will do. Okay, the method where the exception object is creating, there JVM will verify the corresponding method having any exception handling logic or not. If exception is raising means what? We need to handle the exception, right? So that for that reason, JVM is checking. Do we have any exception handling logic or not? Where, guys? The corresponding method from where the exception object is created. Understand? So now, if the particular method, if the exception handling logic is available, then the exception handling logic will be executed. Okay, and the rest of the program will be continuous. The rest of the program will be executed normally, and finally we will see what, guys, graceful termination of the program. Understand? If you provide exception handling logic, but if you're not providing exception handling logic, then what will happen, guys? Okay, so now if they're not providing any exception handling logic, that particular corresponding method, then JVM will terminate that particular method execution abnormally and removes that particular method entry from the where runtime stack. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now see here. Okay, now okay, let me explain you. After that we will see programmatically, right? So we'll remove that particular method from the runtime stack. Fine. So now again what will happen? Okay, so JVM will check the caller methods now, right? The caller methods, the methods which are calling this method. So now JVM will go and verify the caller methods. Okay, the caller methods having exception handling logic or not. Like that, who will verify, guys? JVM will verify. If the caller methods also does not have any exception handling logic, then the caller method execution also will be terminated abnormally and will remove that particular method entry from the stack trace. Understand? So this process will continue until main method. Come on. If the main method now JVM is checking, is the main method having exception handling logic or not? If the main method having exception handling logic means what will happen? The exception handling logic will be executed, and after that, the rest of the program will be executed normally. Finally, we will achieve what, guys? Graceful termination of the program. If the main method also does not have exception handling logic, then what will happen? JVM will terminate that main method execution also abnormally and removes that particular main method entry from the stack trace. Clear, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
so after main method termination, what JVM will do? Hey, boss. Okay. So here I'm checking entire my program. Even the method where it is throwing also I'm verifying. Even the caller methods also I'm verifying. Finally, I'm verifying the main method also from where the method execution will start. Nowhere they did not write any exception handling logic. Okay. Here I'm not understanding, okay, what I have to do. Okay, I cannot do anything. Okay, so please take care. So like that, JVM will think and JVM will hand over that exception object to whom, guys? Default exception handler, which is part of JVM. Understand, guys? So there is a mechanism called default exception handler, which is part of JVM, guys. Okay, so now JVM handovering that responsibility to whom, guys? Now default exception handler. Okay, so now default exception handler coming into the picture. Now what default exception handler is doing, you know? So default exception handler, it won't do anything, guys. Just take, okay, that exception object and it will print that exception information into the console before terminating the program abnormally. Understand? Before terminating the program abnormally. Hello, clear, everyone?
Yeah.
What
Yes,
default
sir.
exception handler will do? Default exception handler will take that exception object and print that exception object information in the console. So what kind of information it will print, guys? Name of the exception, colon, description of the exception, after that stack trace of the exception. So these information who will print? Default exception handler will print in the console before terminating the program abnormally. Clear, everyone?
Yeah.
So what is the default exception handler role in here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. See now. So now I'm taking this method, guys. Okay. So let me copy this one. Very, 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 very important, guys. Okay. Hope you people understood. Right. Now here I am writing example. Okay. So now see. Now see what will happen, guys. So here I'm adding. Okay. So here I'm adding one entry, guys. Okay. Runtime stack. So now tell me, guys, what is the runtime stack? Come on, tell me. What is the runtime stack? JVM will create one runtime stack for each and every thread, right? Runtime stack for whom, guys? Thread, right? So JVM will create what? One runtime stack for each and every thread, right? The thread, okay. So the method calls which are performed by the particular thread, all the method calls will be storing where, guys? This runtime stack, right? No, see here, no. So this public static void main method. So who will call this public static void main method? Main thread, right? So for main thread, JVM will create what, guys? One runtime stack, right? So now the main thread is calling what, guys? Main method, right? So now this particular main method entry, where it will store?
Stack.
Where it will store? Come on.
Bottom of that.
Okay, in the
Bottom of the
runtime
stack.
stack. Here, right? Main method is stored.
Yes, sir.
Okay, happen. So after that, what happened, guys?
Do activity.
After that, the main method is executing. In the main method, what we are calling do activity method. Means we are calling what? One more method. So now in the runtime stack, right? In the runtime stack, one more entry has to be added. Am I right or wrong? Right. So this
Yes,
is
sir.
main method. Now next step, guys. Okay, I'm writing step by step. So here what? Main method. Main method anyway there. Now what is the next one? Do activity, right?
Do activity.
Do activity method. So do activity method entry also added into runtime stack. Fine. So now after that, what will happen? This is the next step. So
Do more
after
activity.
that, okay. So now from do activity, we are calling what, guys? Do more activity, right? So that particular entry also where it has to enter the
Runtime stack.
So here the main method. So this is what do activity entry. This is what do more activity entry. Okay. So now let me write main method. Next one do activity. Next one do more activity. Right. Do more activity. Fine. So no. So what is the next step, guys? So after do more activity, what we are calling from do more activity
Do some more activity method.
we are calling what? Do some more activity method. Do some more activity method we are calling. So this is the main method entry. This is do activity method. So here I'm writing step by step. Okay. So now this is what do some more activity. So this is what main method. Fine. So this is what, guys? Do activity. Is do activity method. So this is what do more activity method. Fine. So next this one is what, guys? Do some more activity. Do some more activity method. Fine. So like this, all the method calls where it will store, guys? Runtime stack, right? This is what, guys? Runtime stack. This runtime stack. This is runtime stack. Okay. For what, guys? For main thread. Okay, this runtime stack for what? Main thread. This is main thread runtime stack. All the method calls which are performed by the main thread, where it will store this particular runtime stack. Fine. So now, like that, okay, the methods entries will be there, guys. So now here, what happened while executing do some more activity method? Okay, here what we are throwing, what? Arithmetic exception 10 divided by 0. Come on. Come on, guys. Hello, listening?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now this method is what? Throwing runtime exception. So now, which method is responsible to create exception object now? Do some more activity
Do
method
some
is
more
responsible. So this method is creating one exception object. Okay. So in the exception object, what is the information should contain the exception object? Name of the exception
of
also
the
should contain. Description of the
description
exception
also.
also should contain. And run, okay, stack trace of the exception also should contain. Right? So now see here, what is the name of the exception here? 10 divided by 0 means arithmetic exception.
Arithmetic exception.
Understand? So what is the description of the exception here? Divided by 0.
0 by 0.
Okay. So divided by 0, that's what it is getting what? Arithmetic exception. We cannot divide it by the 0, right? So this is what
Yes.
description of the exception. Now, what is the next one? Stack trace. Stack trace means what? Location of the exception. See here, this is the stack trace, guys. From where it is getting? Do some more
Do
activity,
some
right?
more activity.
So here method is throwing exception. See, do some more activity. After that, what? Do more activity. After that, what? Do activity.
Do
After that, what?
activity.
Main method. See here, if you see here, what is happening? If you see the stack trace, see, do some more activity, right? The first one. After that, what? Do more activity. After that, what? Do activity. After that, what? Main method.
Main.
Understand? So here,
Yes.
while creating object itself, it will verify, guys. Where it will verify first? The corresponding method where the exception is raising. Do we have any exception object or not? I mean, exception handling logic or not, right? So if the exception handling logic is there, then the logic will be executed and the rest of the program will be executed normally. But here what? Do some more activity. We are not writing what? Any exception handling logic. Understand?
Yes.
What is the line number? 17. So that's what, here what it is having, do some more activity. The stack trace, where the exception is raising. Okay, stack trace means what? The complete path, guys. Complete address of the exception. Okay, so first do some more activity. Here exception is raising. Right? After that, what will happen? JVM will not terminate abnormally, guys, by that time. So JVM will look into what, guys? The caller methods. What is the caller method here? Do more activity. In the do more activity, do we have any exception handling logic or not? Like that, it will verify. Do we have any exception handling logic? We don't have any exception handling logic even for do more activity also. So that's what that particular method entry also will be, execution also will be terminated abnormally, and this particular, okay. So no, 1 minute. So do some more activity, right? So now in the do some more activity, it will verify. Do we have any exception handling or logic or not? We don't have, right? So now what JVM will do? JVM will terminate this method execution abnormally. Understand, guys? This method execution abnormally. After that, what will happen? And even the particular method entry also will be removed from where, guys? This runtime stack. Okay. After that, what is the runtime stack now? Yeah. Tell me, main method. Next one.
Do activity.
Do activity, right? Do activity. After that, what, guys? Do more activity. Do more activity. Come on. Okay. This method entry removed from stack, guys. Okay. So now, after that, now JVM will verify where, guys? Under do more activity method. What is the caller method? Do more activity, right? After do some more activity, there is throwing an exception. So, but there is no handling logic, right? So after that, what will happen? The
Do more
caller
act-
method it will verify. The caller method, what is the caller method? Do more activity. In do more activity, do we have any exception handling logic? We don't have any
No.
exception handling logic. Now, JVM will remove what, guys? JVM will terminate do more
Do more
activity
activity.
execution abnormally and removes this particular entry from where, guys? Runtime stack. Okay. So now, after that, what is the runtime stack, guys? Next step.
Do activity
Do
and
a
main method.
main method.
Main method, right? So now, is main method. And this is what, guys? Do more activity. Okay. Fine. So now, sorry, do activity, right?
Do
Not-
activities.
Fine. So do activity here. Okay. Do activity method. So now JVM will verify. Okay. Do we have any exception handling logic in do activity method? So in the do activity method also, we don't have what, guys? Exception handling logic. Then the particular method execution also will be terminated abnormally. And the particular method entry also removed from where? Runtime stack. Okay. Will be removed
Yeah.
from runtime stack. So finally, what is the next entry we have? Only
Main
main.
method.
Only we have what, guys? Main. Okay. So this process will continue until main method, right? So now main
Yes.
method. Now JVM will verify. So do we have any exception handling logic in main method? No. In main method also we don't have any exception handling logic. Okay. Please see, guys, the left side I have written the copied the program, right? So in the main method also we don't have any exception handling logic. Then what will happen? So JVM will remove.
Terminate.
JVM will terminate this particular main method execution normally and removes this particular method entry from the runtime stack. Okay. So now stack will be become what, guys? Empty. Okay. So now what will happen? JVM will terminate, will destroy
Program.
this runtime stack before terminating the main thread. Right. So after that, what will happen? JVM will hand over this exception object to whom, guys?
Default X.
Default exception.
Default exception handler. Now, default exception handler, what it will do? It will print the exception information in the console before terminating the program abnormally. Understand? So now, so that's what here, if you see output, okay? So name of the exception, okay? And description of the exception and runtime stack trace. See here, runtime stack trace, right? First of all,
Yes.
do some more activity, right? After that, do more activity. After that, do activity. After that, main method. So JVM is checking, right? From do some more activity, first of all, it is checking. After that, do more activity, it is checking. After that, do activity, checking. Finally, it is checking where? Main method, right? So all these things, anywhere, we are not writing any exception handling logic. So that's what it is throwing what, guys? Complete stack trace. This stack trace means this one, guys. Runtime stack. Understand? We have written, right? The runtime stack. So this is the stack trace. It will print. Who will print? Default exception handler in the console. Okay. So now, understand, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let me copy this one. Let me place here. This is the output, right? Any doubt here? Clear, everyone? What is default exception handler means?
Yes, sir.
Now here, okay, I'm printing just hello. Okay. So now, what I'm doing, here I'm printing system.out.println 10 divided by 0. Understand? 10 divided by 0, I'm printing here. You tell me now, what is the output here? Come on, guys.
Hello?
What is the output?
Hello and arithmetic
Then
exception.
after then arithmetic.
Hello and arithmetic exception. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Who will print this exception information in the console?
Default exception.
Default exception.
Default exception handler, right? So default exception handler, what kind of information it will print?
Name of the exception.
Description
of the
and
exception.
location.
Location of the exception.
Location.
Means what? Stack
Yes.
trace of the
Stack
exception,
trace of
right?
the
Yes.
Here, what is the name of the exception?
Arithmetic exception by
What is the
0.
description of the exception?
0. Slash by 0.
What is the stack trace?
Main method.
Now, let me execute guys practically. So Java C default exception Java compilation file. Java default exception. See, hello, right? Hello will print. After that, what guys? Exception in thread main java.log.arithmetic exception divided by 0. What is the stack trace? Main. Understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone clear? How the main method only here entry? That's what I explained you. See, that's what I have taken here step by step wise also. See, public static void main method, right? For the main method, program will start execution from the main method. From the main method, what we are calling? Do activity method.
Do activity method.
So now do activity method will executing. From here, what we are calling? We are calling do more activity method. So now do more activity method is executing. From do more activity method, what we are calling? Do some more activity method we are calling. Now do some more activity method is executing. Here what we are printing? Hello, right? So now hello will be printed in the console, right? So after that what? Control will come to here. After do activity method, what is the other statement we have? System.out.println 10 divided by 0. Now 10 divided by 0 is causing what guys? Arithmetic exception.
Arithmetic exception.
Right. So now here who will create this object guys? Exception object. The main method will create. Because the main method, from the main method only this exception object is, the exception is raising, right? So who is the responsible to create exception object?
Main method.
The main method. The main method will creating exception object, right? So exception object, how the exception object created? Okay, with the following information. What is the following information? So name of the exception, what kind of exception it is? What is the name of the exception? Arithmetic exception. Description of the exception. What is the description of the exception? Divided by 0.
By 0.
Right? So
Yes,
after the what is the stack trace? What is the stack trace here? Means main method. Right? From the main only, right?
Yes, sir.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
From the main only. So remember the stack trace, guys. Okay? Here, do some more activity also, we don't have any problem. Do more activity also, we don't have any problem. Do activity also, we don't have any problem. Where the problem is having? Under main method. Now, JVM will terminate what? JVM will check the corresponding method entry. Do we have any exception handling logic or not? So do we have exception handling logic in the main method?
No, sir.
We don't have. So then the particular entry, the main method execution will be terminated abnormally. JVM will be terminated abnormally and removes the particular entry from the stack. Understand? So now here what? After that what? After that main method, do we have any methods? We don't have. So finally, JVM will hand out this exception object to whom? Default exception handler. Now default exception handler will print the exception information. So name of the exception, description of the exception, stack trace of the exception. What is the stack trace of the exception? In which method the exception is raising, right? Where? The main method. So that's what here see what? Only main method entry as a stack trace. Line number 6, right? Clear everyone?
Yes, sir.
Hope you people understood what is the runtime stack trace, okay? So how we are getting exception object information in the console, right? What is abnormal termination and each and everything, right? What will happen finally? What is the next point? Finally,